और हो गया वर्कआउट? इतना क्यों साइलेंट है? आज की ऑफिस अच्छा नहीं गया? ऑल गुड? ये क्या है? सैड वैड तो नहीं है? डिप्रेशन हो गया क्या तेको? डॉक्टर के पास चलते हैं, चल थेरेपिस्ट के
जाना है, तू जाना।
ओहो, you wanna talk about it? This podcast explores men's mental health, addressing topics like depression, anxiety, and suicide. Some discussions may act as triggers for certain individuals. If you feel overwhelmed, we encourage you to take a moment for yourself and reach out to a trusted person or a mental health professional. The purpose of this podcast is to spread awareness, foster understanding, and catalyze positive change around men's mental health. Listener discretion is advised. Men's mental health, is it really important? Well, you know what, मैं तो आज तक ये सब कुछ बहुत casually लेती हूँ. मतलब yeah, my friends do feel bad about some things. They do feel sad. And what I usually do is, उदास क्यों हो रहा है यार? But after I talk to these experts, मुझे लग रहा है कि ये इतना casual नहीं है, ये casual approach नहीं है. This needs to be taken seriously. And why and how, इस बारे में I think experts से बातें करते हैं और उनकी राय लेते हैं. So with me, I have two experts. And we have two women talking about men's mental health. And these are the two beautiful women जिसके बारे में हमने already बात की है. First thing I want to understand from both of you or either one of you, I want to know that why is it so important to talk about men's mental health?
I think first of all, we need to understand the basic. Almost 80 to 90% of men work in most high stressful jobs, right? From hard labor or difficult conditions, environmental conditions, financial stress jobs. Also, typically, the idea about men feeling emotionally low, idea about men not, being able to express their thoughts. These are very commonly known things about men, right? Men do not talk about their emotions. That's one of the things why we need to talk about it more. What do you think?
I think there is no culture around mental health of men. That there is no culture which has developed where men talk about mental health issues openly among themselves within their family. So that is also one of the reasons that we need to create that culture. We need to put collective as well as individual efforts to creating that kind of culture around men's mental health.
So when we are also talking about creating a culture, they still do speak less about it. And is there a particular reason कि वो लोग कम बात करते हैं या मतलब?
Many reasons. Of course, I'll say some. She'll say some. Few reasons that the societal and cultural role given to them to be tough all the time. Vulnerability is weakness for them. That if I'm sharing things about my weaknesses, people will take advantage of that. I don't want to burden someone. You can add more.
So commonly men are less likely to speak because, like she said, the societal norm, like the gender norm, where it's kind of a time waste to sit and talk about I'm not feeling good today, it was a bad day, right? So they miss upon having these social groups where they sit and talk about emotion. You will find social groups talking about political views, about probably finance, stock market, blah blah.
Yes.
You can go on, but more occupational things, right? About sports or what the world is doing more than what they are doing. So that's why they're less likely to talk about their emotions. I think the major reason why is the mental health literacy. They are not literate enough to know what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. It's not in sync. So they're missing the whole emotional literacy part of it. So recognizing the issues, identifying them, and speaking about it is the last part. No, first you have to identify and recognize. That's almost missing because of the cultural how we've been built up. It's okay for women to talk and sit and gossip what we will call about. That's actually sharing for us, right? But for them, it's probably gossiping about the world, but not about what they are going through. So you rarely find it.
Yeah, so it's actually become like a taboo, right?
It is.
And when we're also talking about this, what are the most common mental health problems that we can see in men? Because they're not talking about it. They're talking about their finances, they're talking about managing households, they maybe they talk about family problems at times. I would see a married man usually talking about how his wife would be troubling him or his mother, but they don't talk about the trouble
What is the trouble? What is the most common mental health problem, or a couple of common mental health problems that we'll see with men?
What we typically see growing right now, because there is a shift, there is a little shift here and there. The shift is that men are coming ahead to seek help, but there is diversity is that women are more, right? But then the most common ones are what we see in our clinic is anxiety, depression,
Okay.
right? ADHD, the most common. We get calls now as professionals ki I think I have ADHD, I've read it, so maybe I want to get diagnosed. Then there are more chronic illnesses with Dr. Savita will talk about, but then there is also social anxiety, you know, or somebody who's going through OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. These are all spectrum of anxiety.
So you are saying that men also have OCD?
Most
I've
commonly, in
always
fact.
heard about women having OCD, and we're also blamed to.
Again, because culturally women speak more about what they are going through, so we've
Okay.
heard more about it. But men also suffer from that. But
Okay.
I think there are more chronic illnesses which.
Also about OCD, one thing that because it is associated so much with cleanliness and women are more into cleaning stuff, so that's why people identify that OCD has more prevalence in female, but it's not so. It's equally contributed in both gender suffer equally from OCD. Then more majority of the time we will see that men will be brought with complaints like anger, aggression, impulsivity issues, substance abuse, substance addiction, then chronic illnesses like bipolar mood disorder, schizophrenia are very common in men.
So then chronic and not so chronic, but there are mental health issues that are there that we'll likely see in our clinic, and I'm pretty sure that this is what research has come to, but there's going to be more which.
Yeah, but this is surprising. I mean, especially when you said OCD is more related to cleanliness, I wish I could get a guy who had an OCD so that he could help me clean.
So all cleanliness is not OCD.
All cleanness is not OCD, and I think now these days with men we typically want to see men come for different issues other than anxiety or social anxiety or maybe ADHD, but these are several reasons, so I think it's more necessary to talk about that there could be many more like these mental health conditions, because so depression is very less likely that men will come, but for anxiety definitely they will, because financial anxiety, anxiety about life or anything that they're going to start new and if they can't deal with, so it's easy access because I know that I'm in a problem and I want to do better, so it's okay to go share.
Right.
But if I'm not doing better, I'm cribbing about my life, it's difficult to share because they find it difficult to share about their vulnerability.
Absolutely.
I would also like to add here that men will come only if they identify that something is wrong with their work, something is wrong with their relationship, right? Or finances. Majorly that is the one factor that will push them to seek help if they are not doing better there.
Right.
Because they identify a lot with their financial condition in their family, being a provider, of course.
That's how it has always been taught.
Of course.
Right. So when we're talking about these conditions, how can we make it out? As in, I have seen men mostly being aggressive, impulsive, having anger issues. So are these the reasons? Because how would we identify, or why do they have this more often?
So I guess impulsivity, aggression is kind of biological. It is coming biologically to men. It is associated with testosterone, the main androgen that is ample in males. So it is associated with that biology itself, making them present there. Even depression is sometimes presented as anger, being edgy, right? Also the substance use and impulsivity because of the exposure they have to it. Culturally also their aggression is more accepted. That okay, male being aggressive, it's normal.
Yes.
Right? That's how they show that what they're feeling.
So how do we identify it? Is it like really an issue? Is it really an illness or a disorder? Or is it just that there are some people who are naturally aggressive, naturally angry, naturally impulsive, like me being one of those?
So the psychology textbooks do talk about anger disorders, impulsive disorders, substance use disorders, gambling for that matter of fact, like we see more oftenly common in men. And they would also talk about it as just a thing of the day. They don't talk about it that I've been gambling for so many days, I think it's a problem, right? So it's an impulsive disorder where I don't think, I act and later I think about it. Most of them not regret, but because I'm so oriented to get it back, I'm again working towards getting it back. So like she said, biologically they're more prone to anger. Aggression is an outcome of it, right?
Okay.
Because societally we've normalized anger for men, that men can feel bad, they can express their anger, so they're very well versed at expressing their anger because it's a strong emotion. Again goes with their macho, the
Image.
whole man up
Ah.
image.
Also evolutionary, they were the one who used to go out and
Hunt.
do this hunting.
Yeah.
So that's why evolutionary also the aggressiveness or that protection wala vibe is more there. So I don't think that when you said that is aggression or anger kind of an inborn sort of thing in male. Do you agree, Ruchi?
Inborn more than biologically,
Biologically.
somewhat that they have because of the testosterone levels because of which the anger is present. But of course, then we've given a lot of path to it culturally because, like we said, we accept them being somebody whose anger is normal. It's okay. They can express their anger.
Yeah, so there's one thing that I want to understand from both of you over here, that when someone is expressing their anger or maybe someone is getting aggressive, do you think that is also venting out their
Of course.
illness? Like, so you think that can cure it? I mean, so someone is assuming he has some kind of an anxiety and that person gets aggressive or angry over a particular thing. You think that's venting out or that will build up more? What will happen?
It is an expression.
Yeah, it is an outward expression to what they are feeling inside. It's
So
not venting always.
it's not venting
Yeah,
out. So
it's
they will
hiding.
still
I
need
would
help.
say it's still hiding.
It's a emotion to hide what they're going through. It's also an emotion to express that I'm going through this. But like we just some time back said, mental health literacy is lacking. कि मुझे feel क्या हो रहा है, what am I going through is lacking. So they are not going to be able to put down that I'm angry because of this. I'm angry is what they can tell you.
Okay.
I feel angry. I am angry. I don't like this. Is easier for them to tell than say that why am I angry.
Yeah. And how can I solve it?
How can I solve it?
So does this also make a difference? Like, does age make a difference in this, or is there any relation to age? Kids, because you talked about ADHD, and I have noticed that usually people just, if there's a hyperactive kid, they just say, "Yo, this person's got an ADHD," and they put it in denial again. So does it grow with age, or does it reduce with age?
So you mean anger?
Yeah, maybe anger or any kind of a mental health issue. For men specifically, is there age-related role in this?
So there are age-wise mental health conditions that we see. Okay, if there is anxiety, typically in the younger age, we'll say that they are facing anxiety. As they grow 18 plus, we say there is an anxiety disorder. So typically in psychology or mental health, we have a barrier of age that 18 plus we'll diagnose them as disorder. Below 18 not, but we start seeing the signs developing. So if we look at anger, anxiety, these are emotions that you'll start seeing. The presentation is different at a certain age. Okay, but for example ADHD, because you've spoken about it, ADHD is something that we can diagnose at 6 years. 6 years is where we'll see, but signs can be seen from 3 years.
Okay.
So you can start with treatment from 3 years for children, even for boys for the matter of fact.
Okay.
So I would put it little differently. Age-wise, you will see a conduct or behavioral-related issues more in boys, right? And as this one boy, where we are seeing already stealing, lying, missing out on school at younger ages, will develop certain kind of antisocial trait when they grow up. More into substance use as they grow up, more into aggressive towards others, being bullied. Rather than being bullied, they will start bullying others.
Right.
So this kind, and when this person reach into midlife, will be depressed, will be more vulnerable to substance use, will be more vulnerable to failed relationship. And in later age, you will see a severe depressive episode more. So this is how you will see different presentation of either that one spectrum of mental health, like that, or it can have a varied presentation at different ages.
So typically when we'll see depressed client going through a very similar.
Yeah.
There can be a client who's been clinically depressed at the age of 20, who's an adult male, but also presents all the gambling issues so his representation of anger is very it's more inward than outward.
Okay. So when we're talking also about this age-related thing, I've also noticed that middle-aged men, usually from the age of say 25 to 35, 40, is an age bracket where I've seen more suicide news related. Honestly, you ask me, I will say that I don't think men should get depressed because they are very strong, right? But I've seen so many suicides and they are more in men. and most of the times they don't want to even leave a note, so we don't know why they did it. You think there is some relation here? You see some connection?
Yes, research wise, the death by suicide men is higher.
Yeah.
Okay. The other part of it is women do have more higher rates of committing suicide, so hurting themselves. But death because of suicide is higher in men,
Yeah.
and then seen more in death by suicide in middle age.
Middle age men, yes.
Several reasons for them. One of the reasons commonly seen is at that age typically they start losing that sensibility of, they feel that they're probably not adequate enough as people, as humans. They've not achieved what they decided to or what they thought of. Okay, that's one of the reasons, one of the common reasons.
And maybe they have not delivered what they were expected.
Yeah, so
I think
they're
that is
inadequate.
one thing that also might be hampering their mental health if they're not delivering, and that's the reason they decide to end
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. The high expectations from themselves as a provider
Yeah.
and them not able to perform so well according to those expectations can be hard. It does cause a despair. Other than that, what I have researched or I have seen is the financial issues. Right, the financial issues, with that any legal issues to add on, a failed marriage, a failed relationship, and chronic illnesses. These are the three important reasons we will see, because of which recently, like since pandemic, we have heard that men in middle age, even 60s, men in 60s dying due to suicide.
Yeah. So, Dr. Savita, here I want to put up one important question to you because of your research that you've done on this. That we're also talking about middle-aged men over here, and then you also mentioned that people in their 60s are committing suicide. So, there's also this problem in women, after 45, 50, when they hit a menopausal age, and that is exactly when they start facing more mental health issues, is what it is said. So, is it also similar with men? Do they also face a particular age? They hit a particular roadblock and then things change?
It is. So there is a concept of male menopause.
There is?
Yeah, there is a concept. Typically we see it in our clinics 60 plus men will come in. But research again says 50 plus is when we can look at male menopause period. Biological reasons Dr. Savita will explain why it is so, but there is a concept of male menopause.
Yeah. So generally it is seen after 50 because the amount of testosterone that we were talking, as like in female, during menopause all the reproductive hormone they start reducing in their dosages, the quantity start lessening. Similarly, testosterone also slowly start waning off. So here why she mentioned that we will see the symptoms more in 60s, because that is also an age of retirement. And they associate so much with their jobs, finances. So then the presentation will come in 60s, but it starts from 50s because of low testosterone, low libido, disinterestedness, feeling lonely, lack of energy, not taking interest into day-to-day activities. There is no structure to it, slowly reducing the structure. Of course, their responsibility as their kids are grown up, that has also reduced. So that everything adds.
The lack of goal is also not there. No, like what do I now look at?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that actually. So after 60, actually what I have seen is that be it men or women, we're also talking about menopause over here. So if it is, honestly, I used to have this joke with my friends that, when I used to tell them that, oh, maybe your mom's hit menopause, you should take more care of her. And they used to joke, oh, don't we men have a menopause? If you can have a menopause. So usually men after 60, they tend to also forget things. And they start behaving more irritable. And people start thinking, oh, this is just because वो हिंदी में कहते हैं ना सठिया गया. So is this like scientific?
So this is very scientific. So late onset depression in male or women is known as pseudo dementia, which is like a depression. Because of sadness, because of their lack of interest in their own life, they will keep on forgetting things. It's not actually forgetting, but it's just that they are not registering important things. So it is, that's why it is called as a pseudo depression. But contradictory to this, the onset of dementia is pretty earlier in male than in women.
No, there too men are actually facing more problems and not talking about it.
Yes.
But when they're not talking about it, tell me, as a friend, as a family member, how can I help my brother, my father, maybe my husband? How can someone close take care of men? Because men don't want, first things first, men don't want to be taken care of. They think we're, good to go, always. And again, we women, we want to be taken care of, so we do not care about it. We're like, वो हो जाएगा. What should we do? How do we take care of them?
So I think some root level changes that can be done. Basically, I would say that listen to this podcast more carefully and understand. We've tried to tell you a lot of symptoms and signs that what can commonly one face as a young boy or as an old boy, right? But second, I feel if we could, start talking more, men can talk about mental health. People who are already going through it, if they talk more, there's going to be younger men or older men going to talk about it more. Okay? Identifying would be difficult still because you've not worked on identifying for a long time. So maybe take help from the women around in your life, or women can help men around their life, where they can probably help them how to identify, how to understand what is feeling of, even if it's depression, even if it's weakness, but if you come out of it, what is it? It's no more weakness.
Right.
Okay? I think that. Third, more presentation of media, men feeling all these feelings.
True.
Okay?
And talking about it.
And talking about it.
Openly.
And I think majorly what has worked up till now, especially for women mental health also, is where the more women have come out and spoken. So I think the major change if men can start doing is the more men talk about it, the more easy they can connect.
Yeah.
We are 3 women talking about men mental health.
Yeah.
So I think men need to also talk about it.
Yeah, and they're majorly introverts, so they don't talk about it. That is another, I think, one reason why it's pulling it back and keeping it where it is, never improving, because they're introverts, they don't talk about it.
Yeah, in a way, like they don't talk as much as we talk.
Yeah.
So they are introverts. About mental health, about
everything,
anything.
I
No, like about any problem in life, they don't talk as much because like we said some time back, problem is looked at, I can handle
Handle
it.
it.
So they're not going to talk about a problem other than financial or occupational problem. So then if we can have more men talk about it. Also, I feel that one of the major things that one can change is probably look at all these beliefs, all these misinterpretations that men have about crying, feeling, talking, sitting and gossiping, sharing, like sitting in a space and just talking about feelings, not as something that is done because it's a waste of time, but more or less like recovering from something that you're not going through. And sometimes it helps to identify when we talk about it to others,
Yeah.
because others can help you identify. That these are few basic changes that we can start looking at in our close vicinity men.
True.
Help them as women, because we are very biologically also vulnerable. We can help them identify. Okay, I think clinically, what do you feel? How we started seeing men coming, because even now in my practice, I think almost 65% are men. So
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
So you're saying at Namaste also you have men coming in?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So
And I think Namaste has a team of majority women,
yes.
right?
We have one male psychologist.
Yeah.
We do have, that's a win point. But somehow the rate of increase of men coming forward to seek help has increased in past 3-4 years. So clinically I feel most commonly we see men coming in because one is because they're bought by somebody, or
Bought by
because they're bringing in somebody, and then as professionals we identify that probably they're also going through, so we speak to them.
Or sometimes they are, as an accompanying person, sharing some of the history. We identify, oh, they also are going through, some mental health issues.
Yeah, maybe they need
Yeah,
therapy, they need
Yes,
counseling, right?
yes.
So I think with women, with us, it's more like, if we sit and talk to friends, we feel that, and we call it therapy, right? Men don't even call it therapy. They will meet for maybe their addictions, whatever addictions they have. They
Or
will never meet
play.
for therapy.
Yeah.
Or games, yeah. Like maybe they'll go out for a match of cricket or maybe go play football.
Exactly. So it's very interesting. I had a client, I think very recently. They came in because they wanted their father to meet me, and I don't see clients be 60 plus. I'm not an expert in that.
Okay.
So I kept convincing that man that I don't see such age men. There are no experts there, but they wanted me to talk about it. And the route to talk to that man who has come as a son was through the father. So if the father is going through so many crises, he's going through clinical depression which was not diagnosed for so long, diagnosed ADHD at that age. Typically I started to talk to the man that, there is so much, there's a lot of genetics that I can see of mental health. What are you going through? Like, because because you're saying both of you are struggling at home and there is no mother and you're yet to be married. So there is no female presence at home. What is it that is what you're going through? And he shared so many things that now from one, it became 2 people who needed help.
Wow.
So, that way, sometimes we need to identify as professionals also that there could be somebody else who needs help.
So as unprofessionals, as like normal people like me, how do we identify? Are there some symptoms that we should identify and then get them to you? Because they will not come.
Of course. We can of course say that they will come because they will come.
We want them to
we
come.
want them to
Yes.
come. Some signs to identify is very quickly occupational changes. They're not able to focus.
On their work.
They're coming back irritable back home. They're not able to sleep. Not able to eat. Very common in men and women, but for them it's a drastic thing because they can't see themselves not doing occupationally well. Okay, these signs. Relationship wise also they are probably doing everything to avoid that because it's not helping. So they are doing all the things that are either addictive or avoidance based. Societal isolation. They'll start isolating and meeting only those groups where probably they are probably playing games or probably just sitting and chatting or drinking. Drinking is one of the common things that men will meet up for. Sorry.
As a coping.
Coping, correct. So these are few signs that we can identify. Then disorder wise there are many signs because you will start seeing them looking more fatigued, looking more tired, having more like headaches, chronic stomach aches, okay, heartaches, different kind of ailments which are not very common or no reason coming out of why this is happening. So these are some signs you can identify. What do you think more, Sam?
The one major point I've seen men coming and seeking help is hair fall. Early, hair fall is
Interesting.
yeah. Early aging signs. That is also an important sign that one has to see. Weight gain in male, low energy constantly, loss of libido. All these signs are like very biological signs associated with depression. They losing interest into things that they used to like.
Yeah.
These are very basic signs that can be easily picked by any family member for that matter.
We see adolescent children and young adults coming in more because of they recognize after a point that there's compulsive masturbation and it's not good. It's not, I don't think it's right. So that's also one common thing that I've started to see which they identify and they research ki it's not good when I'm doing it so many times.
So they identified themselves.
They have because that's very private. However, they are not going to talk about it. So
yeah.
they'll come for those reasons. So these are common reasons that they will come for.
So you are saying कि I should try taking my friend for therapy इस तरीके से कि हम उनको understand करें उनके symptoms and everything. अब इसमें ना मेरे पास दो सवाल हैं. सबसे पहला तो ये कि इनके symptoms समझने के लिए when they are out with their guys, first thing if they are out with their guys and they are having a game night or they are having a drinking night or whatever, that time they are out of that. At least they seem to be कि वो उस दुख से, उस पीड़ा से, वो जो भी उनके सफ़र कर रहे हैं अपने मेंटल हेल्थ से, उससे बाहर है. उतनी देर के लिए एटलीस्ट तो हमें नहीं पता चल सकता कि वो किस कंडीशन में. हमें एज अ वुमन मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ही इज मोर हैप्पी विद हिज फ्रेंड्स, ही इज सैड ओनली व्हेन ही इज विद मी. तो मैं उसे कैसे आपके पास लेके आऊँ. अब दूसरा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जब वो अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ है और अगर वहाँ जाके वो अपने प्रॉब्लम्स डिस्कस करता है तो तब उसके फ्रेंड्स उसका मजाक उड़ाते हैं. एंड दे इट्स अ वेरी कॉमन थिंग, व्हाई आर यू रनिंग लाइक अ गर्ल, व्हाई आर यू टॉकिंग लाइक अ गर्ल. तो उसका मजाक बन जाता है. तो अब यहाँ पे कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे एंड हाउ, व्हाई नाउ अगेन द सेम क्वेश्चन कि क्यों जरूरी है इस बारे में बात करना, ऐसे उनको लगता है. तो तब उनको क्या बोला जाए.
हाँ, तो ये तो कॉमन रीजंस है कि मैं मतलब बैठे बैठे लड़कों को अपने ग्रुप्स से ज़्यादा मज़ा आता है, एनर्जी मिलती है क्योंकि वो उस तरह की बातें करते हैं जिससे उनको और एम्पावर्ड लगेगा, पावरफुल लगेगा कि ये चीज़ें चल रही है, राइट. दूसरा है कि जो दूसरा पॉइंट है कि शायद मैं अपने वल्नरेबिलिटीज़ या जिससे मैं वीक साउंड करूँगा उसके बारे में बात करूँगा कि मेरे प्रॉब्लम ये हुआ, घर में माँ के साथ झगड़ा हुआ, माँ ने मुझे ये बोल दिया. तो ये सारे इश्यूज़ बहुत ही लड़कों को लगते हैं कि ये मतलब क्या ही है, इस बारे में क्या बात करना, राइट. तो इनको आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए एक तरीका एक ही है, ठीक है. वन कि अगर जैसे हम कहते हैं मैन मेंटल हेल्थ, तो बॉयज़ के ग्रुप में, ठीक है, अगर हम कह रहे हैं कि बात करनी है मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में और वो फील नहीं करना है लोग, सो जैसे मैंने सुना है लड़के बोलते हैं कि फिर हम हमारी लड़कियों फ्रेंड्स के साथ बात कर लेते हैं, इमोशंस के बारे में हम उनसे बात करते हैं, लड़कों से बात ही नहीं करते, ठीक है. तो ये एक रूट है जो हमेशा वो अपनाते हैं क्योंकि अब मिलके साथ में 10 लड़कों को तो नहीं बदल पाएंगे, तो वो ये रास्ता अपनाते हैं, ठीक है. तो इसलिए भी इम्पोर्टेंट है मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में बात करना जिससे शायद 10 में से 4 बात करे उस बारे में, तो शायद 10 को चेंज करना ईजी हो जाए, ठीक है. दूसरा भी ये है कि ऑफकोर्स लड़कियों की तरह बैठना उठना या जो आपने कहा कि अगर कोई बात कर रहा है इस बारे में आके तो लड़की की तरह क्यों बात कर रहा है? तो एग्जैक्टली हम यही कह रहे हैं कि इमोशनल बात करना ये लड़कियों का नेचुरली डेवलप हुआ है, तो आपको भी वो डेवलप करना है। तो किसी तरह अगर वो नहीं देखा जाए इस तरह से कि लड़कियों की तरह बात करना मतलब गलत नहीं है, गॉसिप करना मतलब गलत नहीं है, अपने इमोशंस के बारे में बात करना मतलब गलत नहीं है, तो ये अगर हम अवेयरनेस क्रिएट कर पाए तो फिर भी हम मेंटल हेल्थ को बोल सकते हैं कि इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट है क्योंकि इनके बिलीफ सिस्टम में यही है कि ये सब बात करना बहुत ही टाइम वेस्ट है, नहीं करना चाहिए।
एंड आई थिंक इट्स फन, मतलब आई थिंक हम लोग भी डेट डिसाइड करके वी एक्चुअली लाइक प्लान एंड वी सेड कि आज हम 1 घंटा गॉसिप करेंगे और कुछ नहीं करेंगे, एंड वी सेट एंड डू दैट, राइट? बट डिस्पाइट ऑल ऑफ दिस, क्योंकि ये दीज मेन दे कैन नॉट टॉक अबाउट देयर फीलिंग्स, दैट्स व्हाई दे प्रेफर at times, it's a very sad thing, but they prefer suicide. वो ये सोचते हैं कि मैं किसी से बात नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, मैं किसी से बात नहीं करूँगा क्योंकि मैं बहुत strong हूँ और मैं अपनी जान दे दूँगा। बहुत बार तो मैंने ये पढ़ा है that you know it takes courage to die, it takes courage to commit suicide, and then they feel courageous about it. Really, what is your take on this?
So I feel कि endurance, जब हम बात करते हैं पेन इंड्योरेंस या इमोशनल इंड्योरेंस, उनको ऐसा लगता है कि ये प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है। तो पहले तो डिनायल के ऐसे कुछ लड़कों के साथ होता ही नहीं है, ये डिनायल इज अ बिग प्रॉब्लम। आई गेस दैट डिनायल दे विल हैव टू एक्सेप्ट इट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, दैट यस वी आर ह्यूमन, अगर लड़कियों को इमोशंस की वजह से पेन होता है तो हमें भी हो सकता है, राइट? सो ये फर्स्ट थिंग है। अनदर थिंग आई फील इज सीक्रेसी, इट्स अ बिग थिंग दैट ये तो मेरा सीक्रेट है, अगर मुझे पैसे कम मिल रहे हैं, अगर मेरा डिफिकल्टीज चल रहे हैं, रिलेशनशिप ब्रेकअप हुआ है या जो भी चीजें चल रही है, ये मेरा है,
या घर के प्रॉब्लम्स में बाहर कैसे
ये मेरे
discuss
है,
करें?
ये दूसरों को, स्ट्रेंजर्स को नहीं बताने हैं, यही सिखाया गया है।
And they're also afraid कि some people will start judging ना।
Of course.
हाँ, क्योंकि अगर मैं मेरी फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स बाहर बताऊंगा तो मेरी फैमिली के बारे में क्या सोचेंगे? सो अगेन वो प्राइड वाली बात इतनी इंस्टिल्ड है बॉयज में कि दे शुड टेक केयर ऑफ देयर फैमिली एंड नॉट से बैड थिंग्स, बुरी बातें नहीं करनी है फैमिली के बारे में, तो वो नहीं चाहते किसी के बारे में शेयर किया जाए या खुद के भी बारे में शेयर किया जाए। तो वो इतने सारे मिसकंसेप्शंस को लेके चलते हैं, इसलिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि उस बारे में बात करी जाए कि ये मिसकंसेप्शंस है।
And that's why you will see that why they are dying because of suicide, because the procedures they use are very lethal, कि बचने का कोई चांस ही ना हो।
बहुत
हार्श
हार्श खुद पे। सो एक तो है कि डेथ बाय सुसाइड बढ़ रहा है मैन में, करेक्ट, बट हमें नहीं पता उसका कॉज एंड इफेक्ट एक ही है क्या। बट ज़्यादातर हम ये देख रहे हैं कि कल्चरली अगर हम ट्राई करें कि वो अपनी बातें शेयर कर पाए, उसको हील कर पाए, बेटर कर पाए, जैसे वो फिजिकल बॉडी को भी करते हैं, अगर वो मेंटल बॉडी को भी कर पाए तो ज़्यादा आसान होगा। इतना इजीली किसी को फील होना कि मैं स्टक हूँ लाइफ में, या मैं अब कुछ नहीं कर पाऊंगा, मुझे कोई मदद, उस जगह तक जाना कि अब मैं कोई मदद ले भी नहीं सकता, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, तो वहां तक नहीं जाएंगे एटलीस्ट।
अल्टीमेट सोल्यूशन इज डेथ।
हाँ,
वो नहीं।
और पीस, जैसे हमने सुना कि पीस मिल जाना, तो सब छोड़ देना, अवॉइड कर देना। डेथ इज वन, वी आल्सो सीन सब छोड़ के चले जाते हैं, बहुत बार ये भी देखा है।
या they decide to
बस हो गया सब कुछ,
हो गया,
we'll just leave all that।
the present situation अभी मुझे सहन नहीं हो रही है तो इसको एंड कर देते हैं।
और वो इंटॉलरेंस भी ज़्यादा है, बिकॉज अगेन कल्चरली हमने सिखाया नहीं उनको ज़्यादा टॉलरेट करना कोई भी चीज़ को, तो वो इंटॉलरेंस भी नेचुरली उनमें बिल्ड है कि किसी चीज़ को लेके, स्पेशली फाइनेंशियल इमेज, इस बारे में इंटॉलरेंस नहीं सहन होता उन्हें कि मेरे बारे में कोई
they take pride in everything.
comes back to it, but of course we are the cause and effect, societal।
we are the ones who are doing this.
So इसलिए बात करना है इस बारे में कि यू आर नॉट एट फॉल्ट, आप लोगों को हम सब ने मिलके बनाया है, तो इट्स मच बेटर कि आप बात करो एंड नॉट गेट अफेक्टेड सो मच।
So is there a helpline or something like where they can emergency में क्या करें? अगर किसी को, suppose I have a friend right now maybe I'm sitting over here talking to you and I have a friend somewhere who is facing all of this and he's not talked to me yet, unfortunately.
There are many helplines in India, the ones we know that work, so we'll definitely give you a list of those and you can put it up so people can seek help.
We will.
Definitely.
Also keeping that eye to the fellow men's, ear to your fellow men's is very important. We forget to ask them that how are you feeling? Do we ask that?
Yeah.
So at least starting that will be helpful.
Right. So at least that way, I think we can get to know their symptoms. If someone says, "नहीं यार, I didn't sleep well," or if you get a reply that I didn't eat well, maybe we can understand and we can, as women, we can ask them that why.
We also don't ask. Like, do you remember asking anyone in your life was like मिलने के बाद आज कैसा फील हो रहा है रे तुझे? तो नहीं पूछते हम लोग.
आज नहीं, ये भी नहीं पूछते कैसी चल रही है लाइफ. ये तक नहीं पूछते. Like, and even if we ask, they answer with this.
चल रहा है जॉब
Context,
अच्छा.
हाँ, जॉब
नहीं चल रहा.
हाँ.
अभी बस
बिजनेस
रिलेशन ब्रेकअप हुआ नहीं हुआ रिलेशन में हूँ. इतनी ही बात होती है, राइट?
क्यों, क्या, कैसे, कब, कहाँ. They're not like us, right? We have like, we can go on in a loop.
मतलब जैसे हम कह रहे हैं कि विमेन में बार बार बात चल रही है कि विमेन नीड टू स्टॉप आस्किंग ईच अदर मैं कैसी दिख रही हूँ.
हाँ.
वैसे मेन नीड टू स्टॉप आस्किंग ईच अदर कि मैं मेरा
कितना
क्या
कमा रहा है.
हाँ उससे अच्छा स्टार्ट आस्किंग दिस हाउ डू यू फील, क्या चल रहा है, मतलब कैसे फील हो रहा है. ये सब अच्छा जा रहा है तो फील कैसा हो रहा है, अच्छा नहीं जा रहा है तो कैसे. जनरल
ये सभी बातें अगर हम करना चाहते हैं किसी से, so I think there are so many clinics, hospitals, counselors that we can get in touch with, and one of them which I personally know and I personally trust, and I have also taken guidance from you guys, is Namaste Psychology. So what all do you excel in and how can you help? जैसे कि आपने बताया कि now despite having an almost majority women's team, you have men coming down to you. So what all can people expect? अगर हम आपके पास आए तो क्यों आए, कैसे आए, क्या करें, कैसे contact करें?
So like many other mental health organization, we are also one passionate organization जहाँ पे mental health के बारे में treatments available है, उसके बारे में awareness करने की कोशिश करते हैं, community programs करने की कोशिश करते हैं. So हमारे पास experts हैं like Dr. Savita, वो psychiatrist है, right? I am a psychologist who works with a certain population. वैसे और एक psychologist है जो बच्चों के साथ भी ज़्यादा काम करते हैं. एक है जो बड़े बच्चों के साथ, जो geriatric population है, उनके साथ काम करते हैं. There is a male psychologist जो so इस तरह से अलग अलग professionals in the team है. एक art based therapist भी है, right? तो ये सारा कवर हो जाता है ज़्यादातर. और भी मेंटल हेल्थ एक्सपर्ट्स हैं जो ज़रूरी है, तो उनके कनेक्शंस हमारे पास काफ़ी ज़्यादा है, एटलीस्ट पुणे में लेके. समहाउ फॉर्चुनेटली हमारे सबके कनेक्शंस अच्छे हैं. तो दूसरा सबसे हाईलाइट पॉइंट है कि हम LGBTQI पॉपुलेशन के साथ काम करते हैं. सो वी आर LGBTQI फ्रेंडली ऑल्सो. सो वी वर्क विद दैट पॉपुलेशन. सो ये एक चीज़ है हमारी टीम में कि हम सब LGBTQI अफर्मेटिव है, और उस बारे में सिर्फ क्लिनिक में काम नहीं करते, कम्युनिटी में जाके भी हम काम करते हैं. तो आई थिंक दैट इज़ वन थिंग. तो इसलिए मे बी सीकिंग हेल्प, हमसे लो या हमारे तक रीच करो, हम आपको जहाँ पे आप हो वहाँ पे वील हेल्प यू आउट कि दिस इज़ द प्लेस, इस एरिया में रह रहे हो तो वहाँ पे ये एक्सपर्ट्स, वील ट्राई आवर बेस्ट. सो इसलिए आई थिंक वी डू दिस डिफरेंटली.
So along with this, do you also have like an open forum wherein a couple of men can come, they can talk about it and not feel that they're sitting with doctors and they don't feel that, वो मैंने बताया ना जैसे उनको एक they have this denial कि मैं पागल नहीं हूँ. तो ऐसे कुछ ग्रुप्स जहाँ पे हम बैठ के कुछ 8-10 लोग बैठ के आराम से बातें कर रहे हैं कि यार प्रॉब्लम होती है, ऐसा कुछ
इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्सेप्ट है.
Also, we have a workshop coming up.
Yeah.
Men mental health. Yeah.
सो हमारी मेंटल हेल्थ वर्कशॉप कमिंग अप इन अ मंथ. तो ऑफकोर्स उस बारे में बात करेंगे वहाँ पे भी, शेयर इट विथ यू ऑल. बट जो ओपन फोरम की बात हो रही है जहाँ पे सिर्फ शेयरिंग हो रहा है, बात हो रहा है, सो वी हैव डिफरेंट सपोर्ट ग्रुप्स लाइक दिस. ठीक है. टिपिकली वी वांट, इफ इट्स वी नो दैट इट्स डिफिकल्ट कि आके क्लिनिक में बात कर पाए हर बार, तो वी आर अवेलेबल इन टर्म्स ऑफ वी डू दीज ओपन फोरम्स, चैट्स, टॉक्स. वी ऑल्सो डू अ मेंटल हेल्थ ड्राइव एवरी ईयर जो अभी फरवरी में होगा. तो वहाँ पे आके हमने देखा है कि बात करते हैं, पूछते हैं या पैम्पलेट्स लेके जाते हैं. सो एक्सेस बहुत कुछ है और आइडियाज भी वी कैन ऑलवेज हैव. अगर देयर आर मेन हु आर गोइंग टू राइट इन कमेंट्स कि वी नीड समथिंग लाइक दिस, वी आर ओके टू ओपन अप. सो बट वी हैव अ वर्कशॉप कमिंग अप ओनली प्योरली टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई emotions.
Oh wow.
So we are going to come up with that in a month or two. It will be announced.
That's going to be great. So I think all of you can get in touch with Namaste. I am going to mention all the details. It is already visible on your screen with these two beautiful ladies over here, and they have a complete team for it. So this was it. I think आज के unscripted कहानियाँ हम यहाँ पर रुकते हैं. काफ़ी सारी हमने बातें की हैं आज जो कि थोड़ी triggering हैं, थोड़ी I think they can create a kind of a turbulence in somebody's minds. So उनको हम क्या suggest करें, अभी देखें या थोड़ी देर बाद देख सकते हैं?
So जनरली हम सजेस्ट यही करेंगे कि मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में बात करना किसी को भी डिफिकल्ट होता है. सो इफ ये पॉडकास्ट सुन के कोई ट्रिगर हो रहा है या किसी को तकलीफ हो रही है, सो आई थिंक द फर्स्ट थिंग इज जाके इस बारे में बात करो. जिसके बारे में तकलीफ हो रही है, विच मीन्स पॉडकास्ट ने शायद आपको हेल्प किया है समझने के लिए कि मुझे कुछ तो हो रहा है, वो कुछ तो आइडेंटिफाई नहीं हो रहा है, तो वो वैसे भी चैलेंज है, तो जाके उस बारे में बात करो.
या बात करो. एंड नॉट एवरीवन इज गोइंग टू बी judged, or people are not going to judge you.
Not every
Yes.
time.
Yeah, not every time.
I think mental health awareness in general is also increased, so judgment is not.
It's now out of the question. वैसे तो
It's quite lessened, बहुत कम हो चुका है.
So I guess we've talked a lot about it. We've given you the symptoms. अगर कहीं पे भी आपको ऐसा लगता है कि recently गुस्सा थोड़ा बढ़ गया है, addiction बढ़ गया है, या अगर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि आप आपके friends से बात करेंगे and they can laugh on you, you have people who will not laugh on you. You can trust that. And there are people who can sort it out. Go talk to your friends, and if you think they're not helping, we're here for you. You can contact us. And this was it for Unscripted Kahaniyas today with me, Ekta Kapoor, and Dr. Savita and Dr. Ruchi. Thank you so much for being with us. I just talked to them, the Namaste Psychology team, and उन्होंने तुम्हारे लिए गिफ्ट भेजा है. अब ये है सरप्राइज, because I told you that you should talk about mental health being a man. Let's see कि आज आप कौन सी एक्टिविटी करेंगे. Choose something.
Grounding. Simple techniques to feel calmer when you feel distressed. Hold an ice cube in the palm of your hand. Lie down in a comfortable position. Also savor a comforting scent. This will surely help. You can also play a puzzle or a memory game.
So अगर आप ये कार्ड्स लेना चाहते हैं तो लिंक मेंशन कर दूँ डिस्क्रिप्शन में. And do not forget to contact Namaste for these kind of many other things that they have, which will help you stay in a good mental health.